Stand by SOT1.
Standing.
10 seconds. Ready, rolling. Ready, SOT1.
Ready.
In 4, 3, 2, 1. Roll in.
From legendary Uncle Studios in beautiful Southern California, welcome to another edition of Work Comp Matters, the central location for you employees, you employers, and of course we haven't forgotten about you damn independent contractors. And now, here's this week's edition of Work Comp Matters.
Well, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to another edition of WorkCom Matters. It's about a minute or two after 12 noon, January 3rd, 2022. Am I excited? Woo-hoo! Cannot believe it. My new office at the Nitka firm, 6315, is officially open, although there's no sign outside. Contractor is still working, overdue. I've got stuff being delivered in, and I am just roughing it. But you know what? Us human beings, we weren't made to have it easy. We were meant to struggle, work hard, and eventually it will pay off. Trust me. I know. Welcome to another edition of Work Comp Matters. My name is Steve Appel. I'm joined by my trusty co-host, Mr. John Scalia. We are, of course, brought to you by my continuing growing empire, mancavepodcasting.com. We've got over 600 podcasts in the tank. They're completely free. And if you want to do your own podcast, you can give me a buzz at 818-357-4120. I'll go ahead and manage, produce, direct, get that sucker stream live, and then into the cloud forever. Our normal news source that we use, where John and I get 2 dozen, 3 dozen stories, apparently is still on vacation or still recovering from the new year. So I picked up something from the Wall Street Journal, which I thought was fitting. It's a real long read. So both John and I are going to read it. And, hopefully it's not too boring, but I think it's very poignant because it has to do, of course, with the great resignation of last year and getting a new job this year. And, all of us know that over 25%. Hey, I'm sorry about that. I pressed the wrong button. Can y'all hear me?
Yeah, now.
Yeah, okay, good. Did we have like a minute of dead air or something, John, or did you fill time?
We had dead air. I didn't really know what to do. I should have talked, I guess.
That's okay. You know what? It's a live podcast. It adds to the flavor of the show. Actually, really, dead air sucks. Let's just call a spade a spade. Dead air sucks. Dead air never adds to the flavor of a show. But anyways, so we were talking about the great resignation of last year. And prior to COVID, our workforce was 145 million. Now, you may say, Steve, well, I thought the population in the United States was 330 million. Yeah, that's right. People are retired. Children don't work. Some people unemployed, blah, 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 blah. Workforce before COVID was about 145 million. And last year, according to multiple verifiable sources, 39 million people resigned. Okay. It's more than 25% of the workforce. And so now comes this article from...
Can I interrupt for a second here?
Of course you can, John.
I'm just curious. How did they define resign?
No. And that is an excellent question, because when I first heard 39 million, I'm thinking to myself, well, does that mean 39 million employees quit? Is it possible that they were fired? Is it possible they went on disability? My understanding is that 39 million employees in the United States of America either quit or resigned They separated their employment purposely. Now, this does not have to do with being laid off. This has to do with actually quitting. And, whether or not they went to open their own businesses, whether or not they got better paying jobs, whether or not they retired, don't know. That's not the point. 39 million resigned. And of course, John, in fact, since we opened up, this new office, a block from the Van Nuys WCAB, I ran an ad for an assistant office manager / legal secretary / legal clerk. Now, if I would have run this ad, and I did run a very similar ad 3 or 4 years ago, John, I got 200 responses within like 10 days. Half of them, of course, were not qualified. And then I eventually only interviewed about 24 of them. Okay. John, take a guess how many responses I got in 2 weeks to the ad that I ran 2 weeks ago. Take a guess.
10.
I got 2. And out of those 2, only one came to interview with me. One said they would. The other one flaked out. Okay. So the job market now is it is not a seller's market, so to speak. In other words, employers cannot find employees. They cannot find employees. And this not only with qualified employees, but also with employees that are willing to accept the amount of money that they want to pay them. It's impossible to find good employees. We know about the supply chain problems, but also in addition to the supply chain, there's not enough employees to go, take care of business. That's just the way our economy is right now. Now, speaking of that, starting today, for those of you employers and employees that don't know, minimum wage in California, first state in the nation. For those that have, I believe it's now more than 25 employees. It used to be 100. Any employer in California with more than 25 employees, minimum wage is now officially $15 an hour. Now, you may say, Steve, well, what about San Francisco? What about Los Angeles? Those were the municipalities. This is statewide. If you have less than 25 employees, the minimum wage is $14 an hour. So the minimum wage now, 25 employees or more, any business in California is $15 an hour. And at least presently, every year it goes up based on inflation. Okay. So there you have that. So John and I are going to read a story. Hopefully it doesn't get too boring. And, I'll just start, John will read a couple of paragraphs depending on how long the paragraphs are. And we'll switch, but we'll take care of it. And we'll probably run into the break for it, which will break up the monotony of the story anyways. This is from the Wall Street Journal. And here it goes. It is the resolution many workers make each January. This is the year I get my dream job. For those truly motivated to land a new role, ascend to the next level, boost their salary, or all three, conditions have rarely been better. Job listings are plentiful, wages are rising, and unemployment is low. John, take the next paragraph.
Well, it might be tempting to jump at the next opportunity you see on LinkedIn or make a lateral move for a 10% raise. Career coaches and compensation consultants agree that workers need to seize this advantageous moment. They recommend job hunters use their leverage, be hyper-specific about what they are looking for, and do their homework about the current environment for their chosen field.
If I'm somebody who's felt a little stuck in my career and has thought, I want to make a big change, but I don't know if I'll actually get hired, now is a time where it's more possible than it's been in the past, said Corey Kosick, founder and chief executive of Aspireship.
Yeah,
okay. An online learning platform that connects aspiring software sales reps with job opportunities. Sounds like a friggin' headhunter to me, but whatever. Here is how to narrow your search use your leverage, and take the next step in your career. John.
Zero in on what you hate about your job. Make a list of the aspects that you hate. What? Michelle Woodward,
go ahead.
Washington, D.C. based career coach who guides executives through their job changes. The exercise will help spotlight what's bothering you. Get specific and remember that hating, quote, everything, unquote, isn't a clarifying answer, she added. You really owe it to yourself to think through not only what do I complain about, but what would remedy that complaint. Ms. Woodward said, adding to think expansively about pay, boundaries, work-life balance, and your boss and coworkers. Steve.
John, why don't you take the next story, okay?
Okay. Some people might be tempted to take a laissez-faire approach to career planning right now. After all, many skilled workers already have recruiters reaching out to them. But several career coaches warn that kind of laid-back approach may not net them the hybrid work situation, salary, or signing bonus they really want in order to make a big move. Workers feeling restless should consider what it is specifically that is missing from their work life and what they hope to achieve in the next one.
John, I just got someone that walked into my office. Can I trouble you to continue reading the
Sure.
story? Thank you.
Stay focused, but don't wear yourself out. Setting parameters to keep your job hunt manageable increases the chance that you'll find, pursue, and land a role that is a truly good fit, according to Nashville, Tennessee-based career coach Nakisha Hicks. Job searching should not be a job, said Ms. Hicks, who recommends those on the hunt set aside an hour each day to focus on their search without letting it consume them. When it becomes a job, that's when people give up on it, or they take the first thing that they can because they're tired of looking. Job seekers should make time to do the simplest thing they can manage each day, advises Lindsay Pollock, a career consultant and speaker on the multi-generational workforce and navigating the changing workplace, whose clients have included Goldman Sachs, Aetna, and the Estee Lauder Companies, Inc. People often think, I can't send 20 resumes today, so I'm going to send none. If you can't send 20, can you send one, she asks? You have leverage. Figure out how much. The Great Resignation is real. Okay, by the way, that Great Resignation is what Steve was talking about earlier, 39 million people leaving their jobs. But conditions vary significantly between industries, regions, and occupations. Career coaches advise job hunters to research the hiring climate they will personally be entering. People who have worked in a very similar job with a very similar industry serving a similar customer or product, if you fit all of those boxes, you have tons of leverage, Mr. Cossack said. Get ahead and stay informed about careers, business, management, and leadership. He recommends candidates wield their advantage not simply to get any new job or salary bump, but to secure a role that will position them for growth and future success. He also warns against overplaying any perceived upper hand. Job seekers should still focus primarily on the skills they bring to the table over tight labor market conditions. There's no walking in and being like, why should I work here? That doesn't work no matter how much leverage you think you have, he said. And if it does, it's going to work in a place you don't want to work and people you don't want to work for. Connections count. Even in a hot hiring market, jobs are still found more frequently through networking than submitting dozens of applications, career coaches, recruiters, and human resources executives said. Making one phone call to a former colleague, sending a connection request on LinkedIn to somebody that you admire, going to an online job fair and chatting with a recruiter, that is moving your job search forward, said Ms. Pollack. The beginning of the year offers the perfect excuse to reach out to people in your network to check in and catch up, said Elisa Cohn, an executive coach who also advises companies on recruitment and other talent matters. Simply mentioning that you are job hunting can be sufficient to move the conversation forward.
You should step back and be thoughtful about what company you want to work for. Think about who you know who loves their job and why, she says. Next, get a new job without quitting. Well, I've advised people on that for decades. You never want to quit before you have a new job. However, if there was going to be one possible exception to the rule, I think now it is, but I'll keep reading. If a significant percentage of your coworkers have left, now could be a great time to push for a promotion or a raise or to find an entirely new job within your current organization, especially if it is performing well financially. If you're happy, there is value in being the one who stays and doubles down, said Ms. Pollock, who warns workers she talks to not to job hunt simply because it is a trend. Yeah, John, I can just imagine if my employees quit, I've got one dude left. The guy comes up to me and says, "Hey, Steve, I enjoy working with you. I'm willing to stay, just double my pay." Yeah, that's going to come off really good, but I will continue. Don't expect your organization to automatically reward you for staying. You need, see, what did I tell you, John? You need to be vocal and direct, requesting time for a stay conversation, the inverse of an exit interview, to discuss your prospects at the company and highlight your contributions, Ms. Pollock said. John, I'll let you continue.
Well, that's the end of the article, actually.
Oh, that's the end of the article. Oh, okay. Very good. Very good. Well, good.
The article's in there. They'll let you continue, John.
No, it keeps. I think it keeps going here. Let me see. It says, okay. If somebody who felt a little stuck in my career and has thought, I want to make a big change, but I don't know if I'll actually get hired, now is the time where it's more possible than it's been in the past, said Court. Did we do this already? Yeah, we did this already. Okay, so the article's over. Let me pay a quick bill. You're dialed into Work Comp Matters, brought to you by mancavepodcasting.com. If you want to do your own podcast, 818-357-4120. And if you don't, you just want to listen, we've got over 600 shows in the tank completely free. Scott Walton, just unmute to make sure that you can hear that John and I may end up a little early today, but go ahead, John. You can respond to the article. I think, except for the things that I pointed out, as I said earlier, last year being the Great Resignation, 39 million employees resigned. That's like over 25% of the workforce. Whether or not they're retired, got a new job, higher pay, opened up their own businesses, it is tough now to find new employees. What do you think, John?
Well, first of all, I think we should begin by pointing out to our listeners that the Wall Street Journal is basically, it's basically a mouthpiece for American corporations and industry. So it's a right-wing publication, not lunatic right-wing, but it's definitely a right-wing publication on the side of big business and money. Okay. Secondly, I always have, one of my complaints about so-called American journalism is that journalists don't know how to do their job anymore in America. Okay. And that's from a guy who was the editor of his college newspaper for 2 years, used to write editorials, layout, and everything else. What's missing from this article? Let me deconstruct, which is my favorite approach anyway. What is missing from this article? There's not a single quote or a single story about somebody who followed any of these golden rules and suddenly landed in a plum job. Gee, you're talking about all these rules to get a great new job. And guess what? You don't cite one example of where any of this blah, 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 blah has worked. Duh. I mean, I'm sorry, but isn't that kind of essential to the article? Instead, the article, whoever wrote it, another tool for the Wall Street Journal, goes and talks to all these recruiters and coaches who are basically salespeople selling their services, saying, this is how you do it, pay attention to me, and you'll end up being the CEO of GE. Well, it would be nice if there were any proof of that. But, as far as I can tell, when I see somebody as a life coach, my thought is that's somebody who can't get a real job. Okay?
Yeah, John, you're pretty much 100% correct. I mean, I would have liked to have seen some comments from some HR people, IBM, Apple, all of our big corporations. I'd like to see some HR representatives and not recruiters and life coach.
Yeah, I mean, these are all people who are just selling their wares. And there's nobody in the article to whom they've successfully sold their wares. And you're right, you know, she should go to, or he or she, whoever wrote the article, should go to the HR person and say, you know, what's been your experience? How do you go about this? Have you made hires recently? What's the market like? This is a real puff piece, basically glorifying life coaches and recruiters and people who are selling you the, you know, their so-called expertise so that you're going to land a job. And basically, that's their entire job. I mean, I wonder if they've ever had a real job.
Yeah, no. Good point, John. Good point. But yeah, that's what happens when John and I don't get our 25 to 36 stories from our newsline. That's also what happens when it's the busy Monday and I've got other people calling me. I get cut off. I get clients coming in. You know, I am verklempt. You know what I'm saying? But John, unless you've got some burning thoughts, closing desires, we're going to close the show about 5 minutes early. What do you say, my man?
Just one add-on, which actually has to do with what we usually talk about, more in health, and that is that there was a spill of 8 million gallons of raw sewage into the Southern California beaches into Long Beach that started in Carson. And apparently there was a break in a pipe, which again goes to the fact that American infrastructure is outdated, old, and just incapable of doing its job. And you know, and this is inexcusable. I mean, it's just unbelievable. 8 million gallons of raw sewage that just leaked into the ocean. I mean, come on, this is not 1960 before we realized we had to process sewage. I mean, this is today. I mean, this is ridiculous.
Yeah, my understanding is the 24-inch wide pipe that just broke open. This is not a situation where, at least my understanding, where a freighter or whatever, you know, dragged a
this is pure infrastructure and pure maintenance of your equipment. I mean, my God, you know, it's, you know, you don't have to be you don't have to be any kind of scientist to know that this is a pipe that transmits effluents, aka shit, so we can process it. And we got to make sure this pipe is together. And it, you know, and a pipe like that doesn't crack overnight. I mean, I'm sorry, it doesn't.
Yeah, that's true. And I know that we had some water pipes where we were getting sinkholes. Earlier last year, the year before, those pipes were about 80 years old. Don't know if this pipe is 80 years old, but it's certainly, you know, it's been in the ground, underwater, whatever the case may be. So serious problems.
Yeah, and no excuse for it either.
Okay, anyways, I got to go, okay?
Okay.
So Work Comp Matters is over. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate all of that. Take care, and we look forward to seeing you again on Friday. Bye, everybody. Have a good week.